Last week, we reported the bombshell news that Robert Wagner has been named a person of interest in the death of his wife, legendary actress Natalie Wood.
Natalie Wood's death was deemed a tragic accident, but stunning new evidence tells a different tale. People heard screams. Her husband's narrative changed constantly. There were bruises that didn't fit with the official timeline. And hidden deep in her history was a dark Hollywood secret that she could never outrun. Why did the investigation get delayed? Why did big names remain shielded? And why, more than 40 years later, are folks claiming the truth has finally come out? And it's worse than anyone could have imagined. Tune in. Hollywood's Golden Girl. Who was Natalie Wood? She was Hollywood's Golden Girl, smiling on red carpets, glinting on magazine covers, and dazzling crowds in theater auditoriums. But Natalie Wood's flawless image concealed a secret reality of pain, control, and terror. Her untimely death at 43 stunned the world. But more surprising is the fact that the circumstances surrounding what went on that evening have been kept secret for more than 40 years. Why was Natalie Wood so fearful of Blackwater? Why did she once inform a friend that she believed her husband intended to kill her? And why, following decades of gossip, has no one ever been charged? Natalie Wood's life began in the margins of adversity. Born on July 20th, 1938, in San Francisco to Russian immigrants Maria and Nikolai, as Natalia Nikolaevna Zakharenko, she was raised in poverty. Her parents fled their home seeking a better life, but money troubles attended them. Her mother, Maria, became so sure that the family's escape from poverty was through little Natalie. When Natalie was 4 years old, Maria was shoving her daughter into acting, first with small parts, then in a Hollywood child stardom. It wasn't a soft start. On one set, when Natalie couldn't cry on schedule, Maria ripped a butterfly to shreds in front of her, leaving the child in real distress. It worked for the camera, but it was a heartless moment that would set the tone for much of Natalie's relationship with her career and her mother. Despite all the emotional upset, Natalie's own natural talent could not be denied. She was more than just a cute face on screen. She had a rare ability to blend innocence with deep emotional intensity, making her stand out even among Hollywood's many child stars. Her breakthrough came at age 8 in Miracle on 34th Street, where she played the smart, skeptical little girl who doubted the existence of Santa Claus. The character made her famous and began a career that would last decades. But behind the scenes, only saw the happy, bright facade. No one knew of the endless hours on location, the constant demands to perform, and the tiring, juggling act between school and stardom. As Natalie approached adulthood, she struggled to shake off the child star tag. Her break was Rebel Without a Cause, in which she was co-starring with James Dean. As Judy, the anguished teenager fighting isolation and romance, Natalie gave a performance so natural and honest that it brought her an Oscar nomination at age 17. Overnight, she was no longer a kid actress. She was a legitimate artist. She followed up with appearances in West Side Story, where she was Maria, the beautiful Puerto Rican girl involved in a tragic romance, and Splendor in the Grass, where she was a girl who struggled with heartbreak and mental illness. Both roles illustrated her incredible emotional range and cemented her as one of Hollywood's brightest stars. To the world, Natalie had it all: talent, stardom, riches, and romance that was fit for the silver screen. Her affair with actor Robert Wagner was tabloid fodder. She had whispered to her mother as a little girl that she would marry him one day, and married him. The two were one of Hollywood's most glamorous power couples, their wedding hailed as a fairy tale fulfilled. But appearances, as they frequently do in Hollywood, were deceptive. Off-screen, Natalie's life was carefully regulated, initially by her mother, next by the demands of the studio system, and finally by the requirements of her public persona. She worked long hours as a child, at times 12 hours a day, 6 days per week. Even after achieving adult autonomy, she found herself trapped by the roles presented to her and by the image that she had to maintain. She wanted artistic freedom and private space, but Hollywood, and those closest to her, never gave it to her. Perhaps the most spooky and lesser-known aspects of Natalie Wood's life were her intense, paralyzing phobia of dark water. This was not an offhand worry. When Natalie was a child, She had been warned by her mother that a psychic had foretold that she would die by drowning. That prophecy troubled her for the rest of her life. She was afraid of open bodies of water, stayed away from swimming, and never gained confidence in operating boats. But fate, or whatever was darker, would eventually put her on a yacht, in stormy seas at night, under the very circumstances she feared most. New testimonies shake the case, 2024 to 2025 developments. It has taken more than 4 decades, but Natalie Wood's death case has just been shaken to its very foundation. Over the past year, 2 new eyewitnesses have surfaced, and what they're saying is shocking. They're reporting hearing Natalie Wood scream for help and being attacked the night she disappeared from the yacht Splendor. Perhaps the most surprising of the new voices is a man who was only 17 when Natalie died. He was a deckhand in the area, and for many years, his version of the events was ignored or scoffed at. But now he is talking. In his testimony, he recalls distinctly hearing the sound of a violent row on the Splendor, followed by unmistakable cries of a woman screaming in anguish. He remembers hearing a voice beg for assistance, the sound of objects being pushed around, and then abrupt, icy silence. Compounding the credibility of these fresh allegations is Marty Rully, the investigative journalist who has spent years researching the truth of Natalie Wood's demise. Rully's upcoming book, Natalie Wood and the Devil She Knew, is already stirring public and legal debate. She argues that the authorities have enough new material to justify reopening the case and convening a grand jury investigation. This would allow for a full legal review of evidence, under oath, with the power to compel testimony, something that has never properly happened in this case. But the most frightening disclosure comes from Marilyn Wayne, a woman who was moored on a boat alongside that evening. Marilyn has long claimed that she heard a woman's desperate cries for help, a voice calling out repeatedly, "Help me! Someone please help me! I'm drowning." What makes Marilyn's account even more disturbing is something Natalie allegedly told her in private. "Wagner is going to kill me." If true, they suggest Natalie lived in fear not just of the water, but of the man she was married to. How is it that, after all these years, Robert Wagner is still a free man? That is one of the questions plaguing the case today. Wagner, who was once adored as a Hollywood matinee idol, was formally declared a person of interest by the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department in February 2018. Still, even with this status and growing public outcry, no charges have ever been filed against him. He has always declined cooperation with investigators, shunning interviews and sidestepping direct questioning of crucial points on the night Natalie died. In any other situation, would a suspect be permitted to stay this protected, this inviolate? Investigators, including Lieutenant John Carina, have made public comments that Wagner's account does not jibe with those of other witnesses. This discrepancy is the core of the reason why so many think the case should be officially reopened. There's also the matter of the tardy search and rescue effort. On the evening Natalie vanished, the Coast Guard was not called until sometime around 3:30 in the morning, over 4 hours since anyone had last seen her. Roger Smith, captain of the rescue vessel that ultimately retrieved Natalie's remains, subsequently confessed he was not contacted until 5:11 in the morning, almost 6 hours after her loss. This gigantic delay is no minor detail. In a drowning case, every minute counts. Chances of survival decline drastically within a few minutes in cold water. Why was the alarm sounded so late? And who decided to delay? Complicating matters further are the physical results of Natalie's autopsy. Her blood alcohol content at the time was 0.14%, and she also had motion sickness pills and painkillers in her system. These would have hampered her coordination, making it significantly more difficult for her to survive once in the water. But the autopsy also recorded several bruises on her arms, legs, and face, wounds, according to some forensic pathologists, inconsistent with a mere accidental fall. 2012 saw the Los Angeles Coroner's Office revise her death certificate to indicate the cause of death as drowning and other undetermined factors, indicating possible foul play. A marriage constructed on fantasy and fear. Natalie Wood was just a little girl when she first saw Robert Wagner. She was 10 years old when she pointed to a picture of him and said to her mother that one day she would marry him. To most, it sounded like something out of a childhood dream. But a few years later, it was a reality. 19 at the time, Natalie started dating Wagner, and by December 28, 1957, they were wed in a high society